Thanks for staying with us on this morning on TVC News. We've been talking about the recent visits of some of the northern elite, especially the politicians among them, visiting the former President Muhammad Buhari at his Daura home, where they said that they paid him Eid homage, which is a cultural thing. But Senator Shehu Sani, among others, we also have someone like Doyin Okukwe saying that no. They argue that it was a political gathering and an attempt to unseat the incumbent president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in 2027 presidential election, which he has been reacting to. Senator Shehu Sani, let us pick it up from where we left off. Looking at some of the strong adjectives that you used while describing these northern politicians, you said they are power drunk, nepotistic, obsessed, with other expressions like enriching themselves, pillaging the economy of the country, and pauperizing the country. For clarity, are you in essence saying that northern leaders who had occupied the most important political positions failed their people as well as the country to deliver good governance? Is that what you meant?
All right. I meant every word of every statement that I posted on my Twitter or X handle and Facebook. And what I said can be backed by this evidence that I'm going to state now. First of all, it's not false, that it's not wrong to say that the North has been worse off under President Muhammad Buhari than at any other time in the history of Nigeria. The political forces that are today coming together to see how they can return to power, especially those from the northern part of Nigeria, are simply more interested in power than actually using power for the interests of our own people. In the last 8 years of President Muhammad Buhari, we have seen how the North was systematically destroyed by the ineptitude and incompetence of both the person who was at the seat of power at that time and the courtiers around him. First of all, the most important issue we face in the northern part of Nigeria is insecurity, and that became worse. In the northwestern part of Nigeria, in most parts today, the rural path of the northwestern part of Nigeria, many of our people can't access their farms. Many have resorted to paying levies and taxes to bandits in order for them to go to their farms. Many schools in rural areas have closed down during the period of Muhammad Buhari administration. We know that Chibok happened under Jonathan, but look at the statistics under Buhari. Federal School of Agri-Mechanization, Kaduna, was attacked. Over 200 students were kidnapped, and they remained in the captivity for over 2 months. Greenfield University in Kaduna was attacked. Students were kidnapped, and many were killed, and parents have to sell everything they have to rescue their children from the hands of terrorists. Government Science College, Kagara in Niger State, Government Secondary School, Kankara in Katsina State, where the former president came from, Sangaya School in Tegina in Niger State, Bethel Baptist House School in Kaduna. All these things happen. We have seen attack on Federal Government Girls College, Yauri, where female students were kept in captivity for over 2 years. And we have seen trillions being budgeted and funded for security. And he kept service chiefs who failed. He kept on extending their tenure, and the North was worse off. At a certain time in Zabarmari, somewhere in Borno State, about 50 farmers were slaughtered. In Kaduna, the same thing. Slaughtering of people, raping women, extortion for ransom became a way of life in northern part of Nigeria. Under Buhari, you can't move from Kaduna to Abuja. Kidnappings and killings happen every day. In the last 1 year, it happened 1 or 2 times. You remember the train incident that was attacked. The parents have to sell almost everything they have to get. So that was the life that we came from. That was someone from the north who was in power. And unfortunately, even all those who were heading security apparatus were all from northern part of Nigeria. So they got power, they wasted the opportunity. All that came after they left office was one story of embezzlement, corruption, and industrial scale looting of the treasury of the country that happened under that administration. So I don't see how, for any reason, that those elites from our part of the country will say that we have failed. Let's give a chance for another person. If you remember, the thought of President Muhammad Buhari, thought of President Olusegun Obasanjo, of bringing someone from Niger Delta to preside over the affairs of the country has seriously addressed the problem of that region. Even if it has not addressed the problem of that region, at least they knew that their own was in power, and this is what he has done, and the country moved forward. So it is not constitutional, it is not within our law, it's not within democratic realities that people should not aspire for power. But when you are talking of the unity, the stability, and the continuous existence of Nigeria, I think it's important for those who have ambition from northern part of Nigeria to step it down. The North has a moral right. It is more strongly footed in, with a legitimate pedestal to ask for a return of power in 2031 or 2032. That is the right thing to do. But at this time, all these forces were the same people that mobilized the same people and before 2014, and now they thought that they can bring back that kind of charm and then see how they can push him forward. But what they don't know was the fact that the people, the North, even though there are a lot of gullible ones that may go along with that, question will be asked, when you were in power, what did you do? We had our own on the throne, and he did nothing, and we were worse off. So what else do you want us to do? Do they want us to go back to that point where President Muhammad Buhari will endorse a northern candidate, and then the South will say this is where they go? Where will Nigeria be? So I think
that's right.
He too, as someone who has been through civil war, as someone who presided over the affairs of this country, I should be very careful with this kind of people. If not, they will both get him and the whole country in trouble.
Right, Senator, you also noted that the South never challenged the Buhari's government for 8 years, which some might interpret as a sign of weakness or acquiescence. How do you think the South approach to politics has contributed to the current state of affairs, and what lessons do you think can be learned from their experience, especially given data from the 2023 presidential election showing that South accounted for over 60% of President Bola Tinubu's total votes?
Well, first of all, it should be appreciated that the North in 2023 came out en masse and even rejected one of theirs, which is the prominent one, which is Atiku Abubakar. He is a person who has the capacity, the competence, and the experience also to lead Nigeria. There's no doubt about it. I don't know of any person who has been so long in the struggle for power and who has gone through that experience like him. But if the North has decided that this is the person who they wanted to take over power, for example, a state like Zamfara State voted for Asiwaju Tinubu, and Niger State voted for Asiwaju, Kaduna State voted for Atiku. But now, if people who ordinary people can say this is where they belong, and I think it is important to allow the process to come to an end. 4 years is nothing in the history of a nation if you are talking about the length of time. But the fact is that for the whole 8-year period of President Muhammad Buhari as a president of this country, the South has not presented any serious and formidable challenger and rally around him for sectional reason and say this person must eject President Muhammad Buhari out of power. But this is where we are heading to as far as the North is concerned. Anybody can deny this, but I believe that time and posterity will prove me right, that this is their own intent and this is the problem we are going to face. But I have to caution them on the crisis and the problems that that will generate. It's going to be a serious problem for Nigeria, where you have a candidate that is endorsed by one section of the country and opposed by a section of the country. And I said it in clear terms, that allow the South to tidy up and then complete their tenure from 2027 to 20, is it 31 or 32? I don't know. And then from there, the North can stand on a strong moral footing and demand for power. You can see revelations after revelations. The northern masses have simply been used and been abandoned for 8 years of Buhari administration. I can't recall a certain time where there is even acknowledgement of the common people on the ground who toiled, who fought, who struggled, who died to remove PDP at the power and bring back Buhari in 20. Never even a statement was ever issued for 8 years. I come from a state where I knew of many families that have lost their loved ones, are fighting for Buhari. It happened in Bauchi, it happened in Kano, it happened in Sokoto. The northern masses from 2003 to 2015 were so fanatical. They are ready to die for this person to be president of Nigeria. Then he became president of Nigeria. And we thank God that he became, because if he has not been president, only God knows what will happen in this country. So he became, and this was the result. So the same northern elite that rallied around him and ensured his failure and the destruction of his government and also its inability to deliver to the people, especially from northern part of Nigeria, are now still coming together and say this is what they want. And I say the forces are different. There are people who want political power and are ready to, and I don't care whether it goes to South, they will certainly contest, like the candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar. There are others who are disgruntled because they wanted to be part of this administration and then they lost out, like Erfai. And then there are others who believe that this is the right opportunity, whom they believe that the Aswaju government is going after them. They are so-called the Buharis who are in his government, who simply extorted and plundered the country in the name of being loyalists of President Muhammad Buhari. So all these forces are coming together and see how they can work against this. And I don't think this is in the interest of time. The worst thing will be for the South to come together and say, this is the person we want or nothing. And where will the country be in that kind of situation? And that brings, allow, they have enough time. They may not die before the 2031 or 32. They should wait. When the time comes, even people like me will say that the South has finished its own term and that power should go back to the North.
So that brings me to my next question, which, because I'm wondering how you think President Tinubu's government should now respond to this perceived plot, especially given his campaign promises to unite the country and address regional disparities. And what advice would you give to him, considering his administration's initial efforts to address some of the North's developmental challenges, such as the recent allocation of 1.4 billion naira for the Lake Chad Basin refiling project?
Well, there is no better way a leader can respond to critics and plotters than performance. Delivery of services and also delivery of promises and pledges that were made. But I can see that on the matter of insecurity, which is the most important issue in northern Nigeria today, kidnapping is going on. Extortion for ransom is going on. People are still being killed. But if you are going to compare the progress been made in the last 1 year to what we had for 8 years, you can see that we are actually moving forward. I have been one of the most consistent speakers when it comes to the issue of insecurity in northern Nigeria. When I was in the National Assembly, hardly a day passes by without me raising up my hand and seeking permission from the Senate President, Bukola Saraki, to raise issues of security as far as my own constituency and the Northwest is concerned. And guess what? The most vehement opposition to my own presentations have been northern senators. At a certain time, a senator from Katsina even stood up and challenged me to them. They were silent when Buhari was in power, and our people were being killed, our people were being massacred, our women have been raped, terrorists and bandits unleash mayhem against our people because their own interest is protecting the image of the president. The image of Buhari matters more to them than the killing of our people. And I think this is the issue which I have raised, that when I see people from my part of the country raising the issue of insecurity today, I ask them, where were you for the 8 years of Buhari administration? They kept quiet out of ethnic, religious, and sectional solidarity because the person in power comes from us. He is our own, and as such, whatever happens, we shouldn't talk, we shouldn't criticize him, and we shouldn't expose him for the thought that doing that would be denigrating him. Take, for example, our state like Kaduna State. Killings and kidnappings are going on in the northern part of Kaduna and southern part of Kaduna. But the whole country don't know about that of northern part of Kaduna. For the fact that most people who are supposed to speak out from the northern, our own northern House of Fulani, northern part of Kaduna, decided to keep quiet because to them, to speak out will be destroying or damaging or disparaging the image of President Muhammad Buhari. But the legislators from the southern part, they are senators, they are members of the House of Reps, and they are religious leaders, were vocal in telling the world that our people are being killed, our people are being massacred, our people are being kidnapped by terrorists and bandits. So for someone who is outside of Kaduna, will think that terrorists only attack people of southern Kaduna, simply because the people from northern part don't want to talk. But I don't believe in that rule, and as such, I get that issues. So President Bola Tinubu can respond to his critics in the north by performing, by also addressing the issues which they have raised and allaying their fears, which is very important. First of all, he has done a good job with the AKK. The pipeline project is going on, and that is a very significant development. And then secondly, on security matters, top leaders of this bandits group in Niger State and Kaduna State and actually part of Zamfara and Kaduna State were actually eliminated. And credit goes to Nuhu Ribadu for this, whatever people are saying. But he's doing a very good job in that aspect of it. And the other issues has to do with the Pulako project, which is led by the vice president. I learned that about 40 to 50 billion naira was allocated, or I don't know the facts, to address the problems of nomads and the Fulani herdsmen, to see how they can be resettled, empowered, for them to keep the issue of banditry and herdsmen violence aside and pick up a new life for themselves. These are all issues. The economic empowerment program that is also going on, I think is something that is worth doing. So if President Bola Tinubu will address the problem of insecurity in the north, he will silence his critics, which of course there are steps that are being made now, which I have seen. There will be light at the end of the day, hopefully. And secondly, he should address the economic issues because before Buhari left, the World Bank statistics have shown that over 138 million people in Nigeria live below the poverty line. About 80% of them come from northern part of Nigeria. What he can do to fund the Al-Majiri project and also address the problem of out-of-school children, these are all fundamental issues. And also, something that will go both to the north and the whole south of the country, which they were doing about the issue of of autonomy for local government so that they can get their funds directly and use it to the grassroots, I think is something that should be emphasized and supported by the government strongly. So for them, and he shouldn't waste time to eject anybody out of his government whom he felt that he's not actually delivering. Not like the former president, where you will keep someone holding one ministry for 8 years, or someone holding a parastatal for such a long time. When his tenure expires, it extended to 2 years, and then to 1 year, to 6 months, and then to 2 weeks. And by then keeping inept people in the position of authority. So I believe that he should respond to them by performance, and also by making sure that those that actually worked for him and supported him, who meant well for the country, are also being used to deliver the dividend of democracy to those who voted for him and even those who didn't vote for him. I think that is what he should do for now.
That's right. It's good that you spoke to some of the economic policies of the president, the fight against insecurity, and even the national minimum wage, because some of these issues are what the northern elite, those whom you accused of scheming against the president ahead of 2027, might want to use against the current administration. But if you look at President Muhammadu Buhari, he's hale and hearty. He's looking more relaxed and in much better health than he has ever been as president, even if he spent a lot of his terms in office tending to his health and ensuring he was not weighed down by Nigeria's troubles. Moreover, former President Muhammadu Buhari had told us, all by the time he left office, that he wanted no more than to retire to his Daura home. So do you feel he would even have time for politics, or you think the Buhari would actually, would act differently?
Well, it is nice, it's good that the President Muhammadu Buhari is looking healthy and relaxed as a former president who left office. But what is the essence of his relaxation and looking healthy when you rule for 8 years and people are being killed all over? Even your states have become one of the worst in the history of insecurity in Nigeria, and people are being killed in your state every day. Women are being raped by bandits every day. So he should be more disturbed. Nobody should look rested if you have conscience in this country with regards to what has happened. So are you resting because you have turned Nigeria into a Malaysia or Singapore? Are you resting because you have led the country and addressed the problem of insecurity and your people are better off? Or are you resting because you have been, all that you wanted was power and you have achieved what you want and left? I can tell you that the beneficiaries of his own administration will come over after this government because of the revelations that have been going on now on how they turn public treasury into their own personal purse and looted the nation and enrich themselves in the name of loyalty to President Muhammadu Buhari. So no man of conscience will say that this country, especially the North, has been better off after within Buhari's tenure. And putting that aside, let's look at what has happened now. If the whole essence of having someone from your own part of the country is to bring development, can any person from the North actually tell himself the truth that having our own in power for 8 years has addressed our problem? It is not a fact. The political forces that are now, who even don't talk to each other, who are now working together to see how they can whip up sentiment and rally around him, don't think that he is out of politics. Don't think like that. There is that tendency and that possibility at a certain time. So I'm not moved by the idea of saying occasionally he throw a statement supporting Tinubu, that he is right, he is doing the right thing, people should be patient with him. If you have been in politics for a very long time, you know that what you hear and what you even see may not be the reality. Let the time comes, and then you will see where he belongs. But for now, he is accommodating all those persons who are coming, and they hope to use him. But whether he will agree to be used for that kind of thing is going to be a subject of time. And I believe that when the time comes, his positions will have to be very clear. And for anyone, even I that was not in the campaign trail of APC, I know that Aswaju never became president because President Muhammadu Buhari or some forces wanted him to. I know how he struggled to get through the primaries and then the election. And at a certain time, even the president at that time has to be begged to attend the campaigns. All these things I say are available on the internet. We live in an IT age where you can simply Google and find out what has happened if you have forgotten. So for now, I believe the forces are coming together and they are getting support, and they are also talking to each other and reaching out to where they have not reached out. And there will be a time to which they will resurrect themselves. They will decide for a political party that they want to bring this a unified candidate if the main opposition doesn't seem to be favorable. And the whole thing is, how can they mobilize the masses of the North to go against the present president? And the danger of it is it's going to backfire, because it may not going to be simply about a president, President Tinubu. It's going to be about a section of a country. And by doing that, you will simply incite and instigate others to also think the same. And that will be bad for Nigeria and bad for our future.
That's right. Because of our time, I'd have loved to ask you about, the traditional issues we are having about the traditional institution where, witnessing the Kano version of the Game of Thrones, and then you did call upon the governor, Ahmed Ali of Sokoto State, not to allow what you call the viruses that infected the Kano Emirates to infect the Sultanate. But because of our time, we may have to just talk about that, in some other editions of this program, or whatever we meet to talk about these on the channel. Author, playwright, human rights activist, and politician, Senator Shehu Sani, thank you so much for your insight in helping us demystifying your post on Facebook regarding the 2027 elections, which is a bit far away. Thank you. And thank you too for your company on this morning today. Tomorrow will be another time for us to talk about some of the issues in the country. My name is Ibrahim Shita. I'll see you anytime soon. Bye for now.